Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for the next session of Fabric Data Days. My name is Anna. I'll be your producer for this session. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to review our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our moderators to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Reactor YouTube channel. With that, I would love to turn it over to our speakers for today. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey.
Hello. Thank you so much, Anna. Hi, Valerie.
Hey, Cecilia. This is awesome that we're doing this. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to this session.
Yes, me too. I'm so excited. And hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. We call it From PL-300 to DP-600, Level Up Your Analytics Skills. Again, we are so excited to be here with you, and we have a live chat, as some of you may already know. Tell us where you're connecting from, your role or your aspiring role. If you've taken any of the exam, PL-300, you're thinking about it, DP-600. Tell us something in the chat, right, Valerie?
Yes. Tell us everything. We are so curious. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. Let's start with introducing ourselves, and then we go into the content and do as much as possible of the content and learning here. I will introduce myself first, very selfish, but I will start, Cecilia. I'm Valerie. I'm from the Netherlands, and I'm a data platform MVP, and I'm a Power BI expert. So I work all day in Power BI, and I do stuff with data visualization and storytelling. And I started working with Fabric like 1 year ago, really. So I know this feeling of getting started and learning all of the new stuff. So that's also why I think it's great that we have this session. And you, Cecilia?
Well, my name's Cecilia again. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm the owner of Magna Data Inc., principal data consultant and tech trainer. I spend most of my time developing analytics solutions, especially with Microsoft technologies. As Valerie, I've been using Fabric for about a year now, let's say. I mean, we say about a year because that's when maybe customers started to requesting it, or we had opportunities, right? Because I mean,
Yes.
Fabric just turned 2 years, I believe. And of course, Power BI, and also training users around them. You can find me on LinkedIn or YouTube channel. And by the way, I know that you saw the links, but check out Valerie's content to create reports. And I mean, it's amazing what she does. It's like, oh, wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think it's very good that we also mention some other amazing people today that are in the chat, our moderators. And you can ask them really all kinds of questions. And we have 3 awesome MVPs that are there for you. And I think that's such a nice opportunity. Like every question you have, just post it, and someone that is an expert will look at it and answer it for you.
Yeah, and if you're wondering about the free voucher, we have something pinned in the chat, right?
Yeah.
And we have more, I mean, more links throughout the presentation. So
Yes, the free voucher will come back during the session.
exactly, because I know that's a recurring question.
So let's have a look into this. Because now we have this Fabric Data Days, and it's 50 days of learning and challenges and all kinds of stuff. And it can be a bit overwhelming if you just heard about it, but you can go to that link on the slide, and it will also be in the chat. And there you will find like all kinds of information. And if we look at like just this week, there are so many sessions. There were 2 sessions yesterday. There will be another session in the afternoon. There will be 2 sessions tomorrow. And don't worry, you can watch them back. So, I mean, the best experience, I guess, is live when you can ask the questions, but you can always watch them back.
That's
And
true. And we have
yeah,
also, yes.
go ahead, Cecilia.
No, I was going to say that I know that there are people from everywhere in the chat, and we also have sessions in Spanish and Portuguese. So check them
Oh,
out.
that's awesome. There's really something for everyone here.
Yes.
And there's also all kinds of challenges, like not only sessions, but you can actually test your new skills and show them to the whole data community in all kinds of challenges. And we have like a database contest. We have a contest for students, which is amazing that we also have this specific contest. And there's also a notebook contest. So if you're not into data visualization, like in Power BI for these challenges, you can go into a notebook challenge. And additionally, I mean, there's so many challenges. There's also a quick quiz challenge where you just visualize one visual. And that's if you just want to spend like half an hour or an hour, you can do that. So make sure to have a look there, because I think the best way to learn new stuff is really trying it in challenges like that.
And
And
if
then
you're not,
just, yeah,
if you're not
you,
willing to try that, I was going to say that attend them, because I attended the database finalist challenge. Oh my goodness, the work was amazing. The dashboards that they created was like, oh wow.
yeah, I'm impressed every time. Like people have such a limited amount of time to do these challenges, and they produce such great content. And there's something, I mean, this is where a lot of people are talking about your vouchers. Here are the codes. And we actually have several vouchers. We have like this 100% discount on DP-700 or DP-600, but you can also get a voucher for 50% for PL-300 and DP-900. So you can get like all the certifications. And we have this code for you here, very big. So make sure to scan the QR code or go to the website, and it will be in the chat, and then you get your voucher. And I think you have to take the exam before the last day of December. So don't wait. Follow all the sessions and take your exam.
Yeah, you have plenty of resources here during these 50 days, even outside. Check your local groups. I mean, always go to the community, because people are preparing all the time for these exams. Sometimes they host meetings about the exam, study groups, or if you don't find a study group, you can create it yourself, right?
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah. Why
I'm
not?
studying for the DP-600. Who wants to join? And then you set up some meetings. You share content. By sharing content, we always learn something. I mean, I believe that sticks easier, right? They,
Yes. Yes, yes. And learning together is so much more fun.
wow, I see that some people already scheduled the exam. That's great.
Wow. Wow. So let's help everyone to get prepared for this exam. Let's go into this session. Cecilia, can you tell us a little bit about how we can level up our analytic skills and what we cover today in this session?
Absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
look at our agenda for today. So this is what we are covering today. We are going to speak a little bit about what's in the exam. I mean, we will go through some of the official content, the study guideline, and then we will start by covering data analytics in the context of Fabric. You may see that we won't really cover much of Power BI, because this session is if you come from Power BI and you are exploring what's next, which is the natural evolution would be the DP-600, which would be the data, the analytics engineer. So we will go through these different skills that we need: preparing the data, implement and manage semantic models, maintain an analytics solution in Fabric, all that was not there when you prepare for the PL-300, which is Power BI. So the emphasis will be a lot of fabric.
Yes, lots of fabric. And
And
because it's a lot of fabric, I think it's good that that we have these moderators.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, and make sure, I mean, if you cannot access the chat, take advantage of this live chat. As Valerie said, we have 3 amazing moderators. I think we even have more. We have also Pam and Shannon there.
Yeah.
But yeah, amazing. They have a lot of knowledge and they can answer your questions. If you cannot access it, make sure that you subscribe to the Microsoft Reactor. That's how you can join the chat. And if you have any questions, post them. There again, if you're watching on demand, I mean, you can post them in the comment sections. You can tell us if you already taken the PL-300, what are you planning to take? Are you planning to take the DP-600? Are you confused with the DP-700? Because that's also a question. So let us know in the comment sections as well.
Exactly. And let's have a look into the certification, the data analytics certifications, because you're completely correct. Like some people get a little bit confused by all the options we have nowadays. So we want to tell you a bit more about what this DP-600 is. And if you're familiar with the PL-300, the Power BI Data Analyst certification, you probably already know it's very much a role-based certification. If you do the exam and you learn for it and you get your certificate there, you are prepared to work as a Power BI Data Analyst. And DP-600 is really preparing you for Fabric's analytics engineer. And the thing here is, we build up on the knowledge of Power BI. So everything you learned for PL-300 still super relevant, but now we expand that knowledge and we go from building dashboards to building the foundation that makes those dashboards possible, which is amazing. So DP-600, a lot of fabric in there, but you still, all your Power BI knowledge, everything you learned in the past that you learned for PL-300, still very, very relevant. And if you look into like the study guide, you will see lots and lots of information there. But I think the most important are these 3 key topics that Cecilia also already mentioned: the maintaining a data analytics solution, preparing data, and implementing and manage a semantic model. So these are like these 3 broad topics, and we will talk you through them today. And if we look a little bit more in detail at these topics, you get actually an idea how much each topic weighs for this exam. Because maintaining a data analytics solution is like 25 to 30%. And preparing data is still like half of it. And if you have a Power BI background, you already know things about getting data, transforming data, query and analyzing data. And now it will be just a little bit more information how you can do that. And we have implementing and managing semantic models, which is 25 to 30%. And we have a link on the slide, and it will be also in the comment section where you can find this whole study guide, because it can be a little bit overwhelming. You learn for a new, or you study for a new exam, and you want to see, what do I need to learn? Well, you can find it all in that study guide, and it's up to date. So that's all the background information. Let's go into Microsoft Fabric. What Microsoft Fabric is.
Actually, before we jump into the Fabric content, I wanted to add on what you just mentioned about the study guide. Make sure that you, when you go there and check the official landing page as well as this study guide, because sometimes there is an update coming up for the exam. So be sure that you check that out. They mentioned the days. I believe that one of the exam was recently updated, 31st of October. They tell you when, and if you go inside the study guide, they also mention the impact of these updates. If it's a minor impact, so you have an idea of what's been updated.
Oh, that's such handy information. Thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah.
that's really important.
Yeah, and another thing is we mentioned that this is on the scope of the exam, but we shared the sessions that we had and are having this week. One of the sessions I attended yesterday with Stephanie and Shabnam was about becoming a data analytics engineer in Fabric. So if you're wondering what it takes, I mean, regardless of the exam, because here we are covering the exam, that was an amazing session. It will give you a pretty good idea what it takes, what you will be doing, if it's for you or not. So check it because it's on demand. That's an amazing resource. And if you want to also learn about the data engineer or the data analyst role, because you think maybe that's not the one that you want, we also have one session today and one session tomorrow about that. So yeah, I mean, we have so much going on. So now into Fabric. I wanted to add those comments, sorry.
No. This is super important information. And I think it's awesome that we have all these sessions.
Yes, yes. All right, so let's talk Fabric now. So you've probably been using Power BI for some time now and building content such as semantic models and telling those beautiful, wonderful stories through your reports. Got really good understanding what with all related to Power BI. That's why perhaps you have decided to prepare to take the PL-300, which is the exam validating all these skills you've gained. Now, pretty sure you've seen the Fabric logo here and there within the Power BI service. When you go in there to share your reports, you've seen some Fabric, or you've been hearing all of us uh, talking about Fabric, your peers. So you became curious. You're eager to learn more. So you're here after being wondering what's next for my analytics path, both in skills and certifications that validate them. Let's start by introducing Fabric then. Again, going back to this slide, meet the Microsoft end-to-end data analytics dream platform, which is software as a service, providing all the tools an organization may need to go from raw data to insights. As the title on this slide says, it's your unified data platform for the era of AI. So how about that, Valerie? Some
I
of you
mean,
may
that's
think,
amazing.
right? Some of you may think, is Microsoft Fabric replacing Power BI? What's going on here? And not at all. It's actually expanding Power BI capabilities. That's amazing. We have all these different components that we see in this picture. In Fabric, we call them workloads. So if you go into Fabric, you will find these names as workloads and you can access them. We can start by mentioning Data Factory here, which is your to go for data transformations, data transformation, I'm sorry, data integration and orchestration. Valerie is going to talk more about it in a moment, but essentially you can create low code or no code data pipelines. That's amazing. We didn't have that in Power BI. Now we have it there in Fabric available for us. We have the data engineering workload where we can use Spark Engine for your ETL, your extraction, transformation, and loading. Spark is a platform for data transformation at scale. We can also create lakehouses from there. We're going to talk about that. Data warehouse, the workload data warehouse, you can store and analyze data in a warehouse that is built on a unified SQL engine. We have the workload data science, where you can use Azure machine learning, if you're familiar with Azure machine learning, and Spark for your machine learning needs, like training your models, running experiments, building machine learning pipelines. And then we have real-time intelligence, which let us build end-to-end solutions for event-based scenarios such as IoT data streams. So if you have any of those devices streaming constant data. Finally, we see there our superstar Power BI that is not going anywhere. We can keep building a report as we've been doing. Now we have more. And last but not least, we have OneLake, which is the Fabric data lake, described sometimes as the OneDrive for your data, if you know about OneDrive, with the idea of eliminating data silos. Here we have a single environment where data professionals can collaborate. We can store here any type of file format, structured data, non-structured data, semi-structured data, um, all the analytic engines will save the data in a delta format, which is then consumed by all those engines. I mean, all those workloads can access that data that is stored in OneLake. So we see all these components and more are being added. We don't see it here, but we also have SQL databases. I saw something new the other day, which is Microsoft Graph. We are expanding all the time. So we see all these components and more have been added. Again, you may recognize some of them if you've been working with analytics for some times, because maybe your team was using them or you were using them. They already existed, but they were only accessible from Microsoft Azure. If you used Azure Data Factory, that was on Microsoft Azure. They're still there. You can still use them. But the Fabric mission is to simplify how we build our analytics solutions. So they integrated all under the same umbrella, allowing us to have a team working on different, because sometimes the question is, oh, do I have to know all these tools now? Do I have to learn them all? I mean, do I have to become a unicorn and do everything myself? I mean, of course you can. I mean, if you have that ability, I admire you. That's amazing. uh, I think it's a good idea that you at least learn some foundations about them. You know what they are, they exist, so you can talk the language. If you need to leverage something, you know what's available to you, you know what to ask. But I like to call Fabric the inclusive platform, because there is something for everyone. Imagine in a team, you have a data scientist that can do machine learning. You can do your Power BI reports. You have your data engineer taking care of the ETL with Data Factory or some notebooks and Spark. So it's an inclusive platform. And on this particular slide, we also see Copilot there. This is our AI assistant. I don't know if you have been using Copilot, Valerie. I love it. I mean,
Yeah,
I chat
I
a
love
lot
it.
with Copilot.
Yeah.
We can use the natural language. And the good thing is that we can ask Copilot to create a report. We can chat about our data, but it can also, as developers, assist us with some code. Maybe I don't know it all about DAX or I need some inspiration, and I can ask Copilot to help me create a measure. It's amazing. And then we have Microsoft Power BI for data governance and compliance. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Fabric in a nutshell. So, Valerie, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I'm curious, and put it in the chat, people, like which of these components do you already know? And is there something new for you here? Because there are quite some components, but I'm very curious, like what's the level of knowledge here about them? That's what I wanted to add. And then I think we
That's a
can
great
go
question.
into the data storage.
All right. So before preparing data, they say, know where it lives, right? So in Microsoft Fabric, everything centers around OneLake. It's a single unified data lake for your entire organization. So unlike Power BI, where data resides in different separate data sets or multiple silos outside, Fabric consolidates everything into one place. So all your data, being structured, semi-structured, or unstructured, is stored once in OneLake and can be accessed by any Fabric experience. Well, that's super cool. On top of OneLake, Fabric offers specialized storage experiences for different use cases, such as lakehouses, warehouses, SQL database. We also see their KQL database, but that's out of scope for this session. So these experiences share the same underlying storage, but are optimized for the different roles and workflows that like we see there. We'll start with relational storage options next, warehouses and SQL databases, which will feel familiar if you've been working with Power BI or SQL. Then we'll explore some lakehouses, which is a new concept that blends flexibility of data lake with the structure of a warehouse for scalable data preparation and transformation. So warehouses and SQL databases in Fabric. For relational data, structured data, we have warehouses and SQL databases in Fabric. The warehouse is the full T-SQL experience. We can filter, we can join, summarize structured data. For those who prefer SQL, if you prefer writing SQL, this is your experience. It's amazing. You can use SQL all you like. So the SQL databases are a smaller option. This has been added recently. It could be used as it says here to, it could help you with prototypes, referencing data, and some app-specific use cases. Both of them, that's the important thing, use OneLake to read and write. So there is always this unified foundation. I haven't tried SQL databases. Have you, Valerie? Not yet?
No,
Me.
not yet, not yet.
But it is wonderful that we have it there.
Yeah, it's good that we have all these options because I think there are different companies have different use cases, and now they have all these options. They can choose the one that works best for them.
I see people getting excited about Fabric, asking about if they can use Copilot to write T-SQL. Absolutely. It can help you with your T-SQL. It can help you with your Python, with your DAX. It can help you with all the code that you have there. It's amazing. I love Copilot.
Yeah. And I think we, next to the warehouses and SQL databases, we also have our lakehouses.
Yes, we have Lakehouse. And what is this? It's the fusion of Delta Lakes. I'm sorry, data lakes. I have the Delta. Data lakes and data warehouse. So it combines the flexibility of a data lake with the structure of data warehouse. We can store unstructured, semi-structured, and structured data there. So Lakehouse are great as a data preparation zone. We can ingest data, then we can clean it and transform it before we do any data modeling. And the cool thing is that we can reuse these data sets, even share it across different teams. So data is stored as a Delta Parquet, and this is an open format. And we can work with Spark notebooks or SQL. It's amazing. I use it a lot for this. If you heard of the medallion architecture, where you have silver, bronze, silver, and gold layers. So this is your place for that in the Lakehouse.
Yeah, it's amazing that we have that. But
Yeah.
again, if you're new to Fabric, I can see how this can be a little bit overwhelming if you hear all of these options all at once. And I still remember when I started learning about all the options, I was like, oh, there's more. But I think
Yes.
Lakehouse it's the nicest name. It feels very cozy.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. So,
Um,
so,
yeah.
we can see how this expands of what we already have. We had this limitation and we had to go outside Power BI to get all this. Sometimes a third party. Now we can bring it all to Fabric.
Yeah, exactly. And once we brought everything in, we need to prepare our data.
Mm.
And there we have these steps: getting data, transforming data, and querying, analyzing data. And if everyone that's familiar with Power BI knows these steps already, but now we expand them a little bit, because now we can do all of the transformations and querying before we get our data into the report, which gives us so many more possibilities, because we can get data in early in the process, do all the heavy lifting and transformations in Fabric, and then, for example, get the data into Power BI. And I want to talk about these steps that we can take. So getting data, transforming data, and query and analyzing it. Because getting data, I mean, that's one of the most important steps to work with data, is actually getting the data. And well, everyone that works with Power BI probably knows we can get a lot of data already, like Excel files, one of the most popular data sources, SQL or web sources. In Fabric, we can also get almost all data that we want, and also streaming data, like near real-time data, all these kind of things. And we can prep the data with, for example, Dataflows, like we know from Power BI. But now we have this Dataflows Gen 2 in Fabric, and it's the same low-code experience. So I really like that, because it's still this drag and drop experience. But we also can use notebooks, which can be a little bit scary if you are used to the no-code, low-code experience. But they're less difficult than they maybe look if you don't have any experience with them. We can automate our processes with pipelines. I will talk about them later a little bit more. And we can use shortcuts, so we can refer to objects in Fabric, which makes it all so much easier. And the idea is basically we have one ingestion process, and that feeds multiple reports, dashboards, and analytical products. So there's not like this one data set for one report, but now it's at scale, and we have all these options. So, and once we get our data, we of course want to transform it, because we want stuff to happen. And we can do a lot of the same things, like we can clean our data, we can join our data, aggregate it, but now we can do that before it gets into Power BI. We can do that already in Fabric. And we can use these Dataflows Gen 2 for standard transformations. So even if you can't write any code, you can still use these Dataflows Gen 2, or you can use these Spark notebooks for like large and complex data sets. And the nice thing is, because that all happens in Fabric, you can make it reusable. So you do it once, and then other teams can work with it too, if you want that, of course. And I think that's such a nice thing that we can do this. And also I work a lot with big BI teams, and there's always this split between people that love like the data flows, because they have this no-code, low-code experience. And there's always this group of people that says, I want to do stuff in Python or SQL, and they can use notebooks. And of course, you should agree on one final solution that you want to use, but there's something for everyone in there. And I want to show you how a Dataflow Gen 2 looks like in Fabric, because it looks a lot like it looks in Power BI. So that's very nice. If you try that, you will have the same experience there. It's still the low-code experience. You can get the data from multiple data sources, transform it, load it. And the added nice thing here is we can load it into a destination. So we can load our data in a warehouse, in a lakehouse. We can just do that from there. We can save it, for example, in a new table. And we can run this data flows independently, or we can put them in a pipeline. So the capability that we can load data into a destination, I think that's awesome. And that we can use pipelines to also run these data flows is so handy. And for the people that think, what's a pipeline? That's a pipeline we can use to orchestrate data. So we have all these steps in a pipeline, all these activities, and you can automate all kinds of things like batch or streaming workflows. And they're integrated with lakehouses, warehouses, SQL databases. So we have this full integration there. And then you can reuse them. So you can reuse a pipeline that you already built and just reuse it again, which makes it much handier because you don't need to do everything again and again and again. And what I love about these pipelines is that they have built-in monitoring and logging, because if they fail, you can actually see where they failed and you get a message why they failed. And I mean, that's the information I want. I don't want, I can't get your data. I want to see why. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most frustrating moments when you try to get data in and then it doesn't work and you don't know why. So this monitoring and logging really, really helps us. And a pipeline has like this three components. They're now on the slide, like the activities. So that's all the steps, like the data transformation and these kind of things. But they also have parameters, which helps us to make a pipeline dynamic. We can pass like a value in there, like a file pass or something. If you're used to Power BI, you probably know parameters. It works very similar. And we have the pipeline runs. And a pipeline run is basically every time a pipeline runs, like you activate it and it does stuff, it tracks activity, which means we get the logging and the monitoring and all these kind of things. So it's good to know a pipeline has these three components of activities, parameters, and pipeline runs, and that they're integrated with a Lakehouse, warehouses, and SQL database.
I love pipelines.
Yeah, they make your life so much easier when you're developing. It's amazing. And then I want to show you also something else, because I showed you the Dataflows Gen 2. The notebook, the scary part if you are not familiar to these notebooks, they're not as scary as they look like, because you can use them with Python, but also R, SQL, or Spark. So if you know SQL, that already will get you very fine there. And these notebooks, they're ideal for large data sets or complex calculations. And you can like explore and test and all of these things before you model. So you can try stuff there and you can see what the result would be. And they also integrate directly with lakehouses and warehouses. So if you create something, you get data, you transform it, you can also send it to a lakehouse or warehouse. And if you're new to these notebooks, there is a ton of documentation on the Microsoft Learn website about them, also with some example codes. When I got started with them, I just looked at examples from others, and then I tried to understand what was happening there. And like we said at the beginning, there's also a challenge at the moment for notebooks. So this is the moment to really read about them, learn about them, try them.
Yeah, that's a very important point. I mean, especially if you're new, always try them. Don't only read about this for the exam. Use them, break them, see where it fails, because then you will remember, oh, okay, this fails because, okay, I didn't add this option or whatever it is. Try it and break it.
Yes. You learn the most from breaking stuff, isn't it?
Yep. Maybe we should have like a challenge for that, right? Like, okay, the challenge: who breaks?
Who breaks
this?
it fastest?
Yeah. Ways to break your Python code, or ways to break your pipeline. So the challenge.
Yeah. I mean, you could learn so much from these. But once we've done all of that, we want to query and analyze our data. And that we can do in Fabric also in so many ways. So in Power BI, we had, of course, DAX, and we could create these measures and columns and these kind of things. But now in Fabric, we can query data before it reaches a data set. And we can do it in different ways, like SQL, KQL for real-time data, DAX, or notebooks. And I mean, this is amazing because we can use so many options. There should be something for everyone in there. And we can test our transformation, validate our data, all these kind of things before the data reaches the report. And I think the key takeaway from this section is the concept of getting data, transforming it, and analyzing it. We already know that. And now we just get new possibilities to do that make it easier for us. So I think that's my key takeaway for this part. And I think it's good if we go into the semantic models now.
Yes, yes. This was amazing insights. All right, so let's talk semantic models. We still have them for this exam, and of course in Fabric. So yeah, in Fabric, semantics models, they go beyond the traditional Power BI datasets. They power multiple workloads, including your reports, your notebooks, pipelines. They're placed at the core of your enterprise analytics. For the Power BI users, of course, the concept feels familiar. Relationships, measures, hierarchies. What's the difference then? These models are now shared, scalable, and deeply integrated across the entire ecosystem. So we need to design for scalability, which comes next. And what's scalability? Scalability refers to designing data models that can handle the growth in both data volume and complexity. When we design the model, we have to keep that in mind. A model that starts with thousands of rows may eventually need to process millions. So it must be built to accommodate this expansion without sacrificing the performance. When planning your enterprise solutions, scalability should be a top priority to ensure the flexibility, as we see here on this slide. So models must adapt to these evolving needs of the business and the structural changes as well. The data growth. Models should maintain acceptable report performance as data volumes increase. And the reduced complexity, we can say manageability is the word. Scalable models reduce complexity, making them easier to maintain and optimize over time. I love teaching data modeling when I go to conferences, and that's I always highlight the benefits of a good data model. And reducing complexity also translate into simpler DAX. How cool is that? For
That's
those who
awesome.
sometimes suffer about from DAX, I mean, it's like if you have a good data model, everything becomes so much simpler. And then we have these storage modes, Reimagined. I love the titles here. I have so much fun seeing the titles because I mean they like very empowering. So import could be challenging. If you've been working with Power BI, you know about import and DirectQuery already, and perhaps composite as well. But import could be challenging when we have a large volume, when we have large volumes of data, or if we require some real-time data. That's when DirectQuery comes. To solve this challenge, since it doesn't have to store any data, it only brings the data, metadata in, and data is always fresh because every time that you interact with the visual, there is refreshing the data. It's going against the database and bringing the freshest data to your report. But then it introduces a new challenge, which is which one of the challenges could be latency and some limitations, such as limited transformations. Our only result to solve this before Fabric was using Composite, which combines both import and DirectQuery. Sometimes also only different DirectQuery sources, but think about import and DirectQuery combined. However, we still have the challenge of refreshing the data and potential performance impact. So with Fabric, a new storage mode was born and is called DirectLake. This allows querying data directly from a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse or a warehouse. You need to have the data there. So without storing it in a semantic model, and it makes it ideal for handling large models of data. This mode is optimized for quickly loading data into memory from data tables in Fabric. It's amazing. I love DirectLake.
Yeah, this is so awesome that this is
Yes.
possible.
Of course,
Wow.
it doesn't mean that you have to run and change everything to DirectLake. I mean, still you need to have a lakehouse or a warehouse. It cannot like function with another data source, but it's a solution for that.
Yeah. And it's good that there are so many options for companies that think about storing their data. So they know now that they can choose. And I mean, that's amazing.
Yes.
And you already talked about optimizing semantic models. So I'm very, very curious about this one.
So yeah, here on this slide, we are sharing some of the best practices. And if you can think of more, share them in the chat. What are your best practices for optimizing semantic models? But let's go through some of them. You have heard that we should always try to push the data preparation for the data source as much as possible. For example, by creating a view in the database you are connecting to, ensuring the query folding is happening, only bring data that you need. So don't bring any tables that you won't be using. Don't bring any unnecessary columns, and filter the rows. Try to filter as much as you can. Of course, I mean, don't get crazy filtering because think ahead. Maybe you don't need it right now, but you may need it in the future. But there are things that we won't ever use. So filter that out of the model. Avoid these flat tables. Use the dimensional data modeling instead, the star schemas, the famous star schemas, fact tables and dimension tables. That's what Power BI expects. And again, it will make your life much easier. Use appropriate data types. As it says here, use an integer for ID columns. It performs way better than string or text data columns. So if you see that something fits the integer, use integer, don't use text. Avoid calculated columns. Remember that phrase that Valerie that said, if it can be a measure, create a measure, don't create a column.
Yes.
Disable the
Great.
auto date time. If you see that the auto date time, that is creating a virtual table for any field that has the auto date detected. So disable that. Have your own date table. Consider partitioning and incremental refresh. And some more. I mean, mention in the chat what else we are missing here, because there are so many ways to optimize the data model.
Yes. Yes. So put it in the chat because we're really curious about how you optimize your models. There,
Yeah.
Cecilia, you're completely right. There's so many ways to do that, but I think you pointed out some really important ones there. Hey, but I think one thing we still also need to cover is how we can maintain that analytics solution in Fabric, because once you created it, you need to maintain it. That's important. You
That's
can't
very
just
important.
leave it there. So I will talk about two things here: how we can implement security and governance, because that's super important. You want your data to be secure, but also how you can maintain it during its complete life cycle. And data security in Fabric is a little bit different than we are used to in Power BI, because in Power BI, most of the time we have this workspace permissions and roles and app permissions, maybe some row level security, but there's only so much you can do. In Fabric, you have several places where you can think about security. For example, the workspace, like you can control who can view, edit, or manage items within a workspace. But also item permission, like who can share individual items. And with items, I mean, for example, a lakehouse or a model. But we also have like more granular permission, And you can see it on the slide, for example, for Lakehouse, a warehouse, or semantic model. So it's a specific engine where we have permissions. And then we also have OneLake data access control, and that one is still in preview at this moment, where you can provide file and folder level security. So a lot of security that you can apply, and it helps to think of this as layers. You start at the workspace level, and then you narrow it down while you're working with it. And together, all these layers make it possible to secure data. So that's very important. It's good to know that you have these different layers and where they actually make an impact. And all these layers, very important, but something else that's important, getting back to that semantic model, is actually making sure that your semantic model is built in a way that security is ensured. So it's very important to use best practices to create your semantic model to make sure that it's very secure. And I would always say create few but very good designed semantic models instead of creating a lot that are half designed. That will get you into trouble in the long term. So make sure to create a few really good semantic models. Create dynamic rules so you don't have to do stuff over and over again. And validate things like model design and relationships. Don't just assume that the relationships you see in your model are working correctly. Validate these kinds of things. Use user principal name for row level security. Make sure that your row level security works. I mean, that's also a nice thing to check, and make sure that your credentials match between desktop and service. So at the semantic level, at the semantic model level, we already make sure that security is solid. And then we have all these other security options that we can use. Very important. And next to that, I already told you a little bit about that. We need to manage our assets through the life cycle. And Fabric gives us quite some options here. For example, we have version control, and I love version control because I work in big teams and everyone is doing stuff and people are working on the same things. And with version control, we can actually track and manage changes with Git. And that's amazing. I mean, you finally see who has changed what was changed. And if people write down a good description, you also know why they did it. And we have also deployment pipelines. And these deployment pipelines make sure that we can move content from development, test to production, or whatever stages you have in a really structured way. And that's why I like them so much. So it's not like one person publishing stuff or putting stuff in an environment, but you really have these deployment pipelines. Testing and validation, of course, is super important. When you want to manage your assets through the life cycle, you need to test and validate that your data is accurate. You can have like the best solution if your data isn't correct, will not be used. Monitoring. Monitoring is amazing in Fabric, and I say amazing a lot, but this is really awesome because in Power BI, I was asked so many times by clients, like, can we monitor it? And the monitoring that we have, it's not enough, or we are looking for much more information. Fabric monitoring is really great. It's built in, and you can see all kinds of things about your capacity and what's going on in Fabric. So the clients that I work with that are using Fabric, they all really like the monitoring. It gives them this control back. They see what is going on. And of course, we also have automation in Fabric. And we can use, for example, CI/CD, these kind of things. And in the end, I think we all want to automate as much as possible because then we can focus on other things. If our automation is in place, we can focus on all the other things that we want to do and want to achieve. But it's good to know that we have this, but it's even better to actually use this and implement it in your way of working and have not only version control, but also work with it. I think we went through most of the main slides here. We want to show you again, because this was a long session, what's
Yeah.
next in
What's
the
next?
Fabric database.
I mean, everything blows your mind here. Ooh,
Yeah,
now I have all these possibilities. By the way,
yeah,
drop in the chat which one is your favorite that you haven't been using.
yeah. Yeah, tell us. And then again, and I've seen it in the chat a few times. I peeked at the chat. There were so many questions about this. You can prepare for this exam, request your voucher. And if I can give you a tip here, schedule your exam. Get your voucher. And the moment you get your voucher, schedule your exam, because then there's this date and you have to do it.
Exactly, I agree. And yeah, I always like to say we may wait to be 100% prepared, but are we ever going to be 100% prepared? You know, it's like, are we ever going to feel like that? So having your exam prepared, I mean, it will give you that extra push. Okay, now I have to sit down and actually prepare for it. You can always, reschedule it, maybe like for next week or 2 days if you need something extra. I mean, you have one day before you can reschedule, but reschedule it. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, schedule it. And I think there are even practice assessments that you can find in Microsoft Learn. Do them, try it, because there are some really great assessments and labs that you can follow where you can really test things.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And you may try to compare them to the exam questions. No, they are not like the exam questions, but it will give you a good idea of the knowledge you're lacking. Anything that they ask you there is it may show up in the exam. I mean, it's something that you have to know. So if you see that you are weak on one aspect, maybe deployment pipelines, I mean, it tells you how you did and you can review the questions. And not only that, once you answer, it explains you why this is the best answer, and then it links you to the resource to learn about that. So maybe you don't know everything about deployment pipelines. Here's the link, read more. So they emphasize what you should know. So make sure that you run them, and once you go a few attempts with more than 80%, maybe you're ready to take the exam.
That's great advice. Great advice. And I see on the slide in the bottom, there's also an exam day prep session on November 19th and December 3rd. So make sure to go also there. So
Hmm.
I think there's so much going on. Also, if we look at later today, there's the So You Want to Be a Data Analyst. And tomorrow there will be all kinds of sessions. So make sure the link is in the chat. Make sure to go to the website of the Fabric Database and see what's available, because there's so much available. And we just want to make sure that you're fully prepared for your exam and your certification and that you feel ready. That's so important.
And then let's keep making some noise on social media. Use the hashtag. I say, "Hey, I passed the DP-600." We used to have Alex Powers. He used to be, "Welcome to the DP-600 club." So every time that someone would post using the hashtag, someone would say, "Hey, welcome to the club." I mean, it's a good way to engage with others in the community, right? And have fun.
Yes. Yes, yes. Share your successes. That's so important. Um, Again, these are the codes for the discounts. And if you're really interested in the DP-600, make sure to go to the website, scan the QR code. And I think we are like right on time here. Um, so we also have some resources for you.
Oh,
Oh, and we have a really
thank you,
nice comment
Rajesh.
there. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for that.
awesome. That's always great to hear. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you
That's
so
what we
much.
hear, right, Valerie?
Yes, yes, yes. So I think, yeah, we hope that you learned something here. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Me
Cecilia,
too.
you too? Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes. Let's do it
this is,
again.
yes, yes, definitely. Let's do this again.
Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Those who join live and those who are watching on demand, thank you so much. It was a great pleasure. And thank you, Valerie.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye for now.
Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. This session is part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you at the next one.